Hello neighbor, this is Curt with etrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Aries Oval Nerf Bars, and we're going to see how they fit and how they install on our 2017 Ram 1500. Now, Nerf bars and running boards are an excellent way just to ensure that getting in and out of your vehicle is going to be safe. The vehicles that have a bit more ground clearance, like our Ram 1500 today, that can be a big step for a lot of people getting in and out. So adding that extra step is just going to make it a little bit more of a secure footing for you. So the Aries Oval Nerf Bars are, they are a 4-inch wide oval. They offer a 4-inch wide step pad as well that's got a really nice grip to it. So that's going to help with that safety measure as well. They're going to be made out of a carbon steel and powder coated as well. So it's going to be very chip, scratch, and rust resistant. And the ends of our Nerf bars are sealed. So that's going to keep any kind of grime and moisture out of the inside of the bars so they won't corrode from the inside. So from the ground up to the door threshold here, if you did not have Nerf bars or running boards, you're looking at a 24-inch step up. So 2 whole feet you got to step up to get in and out of the vehicle. With the Aries Oval Nerf Bars, we're going to cut that down. And our first step up is going to be just a hair over 14.5 inches. So we've almost cut that step in half, just making everything a lot more safe. Now these Nerf bars are going to run the entire cab length. So your second row is going to enjoy that step pad as well. And they're going to be held on by 3 different bracket locations. And another one in the front right there. And installation is actually pretty straightforward and simple. So follow along and I'll show you exactly how we got these on our Ram 1500. So for the installation, there are going to be a few tools that you'll have to provide on your own. You're going to need a few different socket sizes. You'll need a 13 millimeter, a 16 millimeter, and an 18 millimeter socket. And we'll need a torque wrench to accommodate each of those sizes as well. But we'll begin our installation with our brackets. Now, the first thing we want to do is identify our bracket placement. The front brackets, whether it's driver or passenger side, are identical. So these aren't side specific, but the front bracket can be identified by having the 2 holes down here and then a tab up here with our center bolt hole. Our middle and rear bracket will be side specific to the passenger or driver side. And they're going to have a plate at the top like this with all 3 of the bolt holes. Now, as far as being able to identify it, whether it's a driver or passenger side, on the middle and rear bracket, this tab here should be facing the front of the vehicle. So from underneath here, we can locate our front bracket location. It's going to be identifiable. You're going to be able to find 2 weld nuts here. And you're going to have an opening here, kind of an oval-shaped opening here. Now, it may be that the factory tape is still over this, but it's still a pretty easy spot to identify. And we're going to start off by taking our bolt plate here. This consists of an M12 bolt and an M10 weld nut. And we're going to be very carefully slipping this in here. And then we're going to take this plastic square kind of washer here, and what we're going to do is thread that on so it'll hold this bolt in place and we don't lose it inside of our frame. So be careful when you're putting this in. It hasn't happened to me yet, but I can only imagine the nightmare it would be to try to dig this out of your frame. So just be careful as you're doing this. But once this square plastic washer goes on, it's not going to go anywhere. It threads on just like that, and it's going to hold it pretty good for you out there. Now, one thing I do have to say is this being a 2017, it's at this point about 8 years old, there's a very high likelihood, especially if the truck doesn't have any mud flaps, that you're going to have a lot of grime, rust, corrosion in these weld nuts. So if you have a wire brush and some penetrating oil handy when you do this installation, that's probably going to be a good thing. But moving on, we're going to take our bolt right here, make sure our washer, our plastic washer is going to be all the way flush. So with that set, we're going to go ahead and take our bracket and we're going to set it over just like so. and I'm going to put a M12 washer, M12 lock nut, and our M12 nut on, and I'm going to just kind of, I am going to hand tighten it down just to be a little bit snug. I want to leave this just a little bit maneuverable just to make sure that the bolt holes on our Nerf bars are going to line up with it correctly. So next we'll be running bolts into the 2 weld nuts that are located underneath that top bolt. So we're going to use our M8 bolt, M8 lock nut, and M8 flat washer to do that. And again, we're just getting them snug. I want to leave a little bit of room to move. So I'm just going to tighten these down by hand. So we're at our middle bracket location, and we've already got our top bolt installed the same way as we did our front bracket. Now the difference here, and it could depend on your truck, because with these Rams, it turns out you can kind of get either or. So on our front bracket location, we had weld nuts in our bottom 2 holes. That's not going to be the case with every 2017 Ram 1500. And that's going to be what it is with this. There is no weld nut in here. But that is what the bolt plate on this with that M10 weld nut is for. What you're going to need to do is we're going to be swinging this, and it could go to either one of these, but you're going to need to line that up with this to run a bolt through. But the first thing we want to do is get our middle bracket on. So we're just going to get that on here. Now, I have found, after doing this a few times, that before you put any washers or fasteners on this top bolt, it's a lot easier to maneuver it to the bolt hole location without doing that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to kind of hold it in place with that lined up. I'm going to grab an M10 bolt, M10 lock nut, and M10 flat washer, and I'm going to go ahead and run that through and fasten it down. And again, we're just getting it snug by hand, but this is going to hold it in place while we get our fasteners for the top bolt. So with that bottom bolt set, we could take our M12 flat washer, M12 lock washer, and M12 nut, and we'll go ahead and secure that top bolt. Now, it may seem a little bit strange to you that there is going to be only 2 bolts on the second and third bracket, unlike the 3 bolts that we had in the front bracket, but this is a bigger bolt than the M8 bolts that we had on that front bracket on both sides. And keep in mind, you are going to have some leftover hardware in this kit, because the kit does provide enough whether you have weld nuts in your second and third bracket location or not. But once we get this down and snug, we can move on to our third bracket, which installs exactly the same as our middle bracket. So now that our brackets are in place, it's time to grab our Nerf bar. And these are going to be side specific. If you're unsure, you can kind of, turn the bar over like this and double check that the bolt holes are lined up, because they will line up differently depending on which side of the vehicle. So since we have the right bar, what we're going to do is go ahead and just kind of set this in place. And try to get it as level as possible. Now, it doesn't leave you a lot of room to maneuver or to pitch it, and some people may prefer to pitch it a little in or pitch it a little out. If you wanted it level though, a leveler is the best way to do it, but generally speaking, you should be able to eye this out pretty well. So with our bolt holes lined up, we're going to go ahead and grab our M10 bolt, M10 lock washer, and M10 flat washer, and we're going to go ahead and hand thread those in. And again, I'm just kind of hand threading, just if we want to make some adjustments, like I had mentioned, the pitch of it. This is just going to make sure that it stays in place, not too far forward, not too far back. So I'm just going to get it snug in there, and I'm going to move on to each of these bolt holes. Now, we did leave our brackets slightly loose, if you'll remember. So that leaves some room for adjustment, and that was the exact reason why we wanted to do it. But generally speaking, this should be a really simple process, just getting these on and lined up. If you need to loosen your bracket a little bit more to get it lined up, go right ahead. Once we get our Nerf bar set and level the way we want it to, whether it's pitched or level, whatever it may be, once we've got it in the right spot, go ahead and take your 16 millimeter socket and tighten up all the M10 bolts that are attaching our bracket to our Nerf bar. And once you're getting the bolts nice and snug on your Nerf bar, go ahead and get back under the vehicle, and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with all of our bracket bolts. We're going to get them really nice and snug before we get them tightened down completely with the torque wrench. Once all of the bolts under here are snug, go ahead and grab your torque wrench, but pay very, very close attention to your instructions. There is a specific torque setting to each bolt size, the M8, the M10, and the M12. So pay careful attention to that. But go ahead and once you got those settings done, get them tightened down completely. So with all of our bolts torqued down, installation is complete and you're ready to enjoy your Nerf bars. Now, we installed the passenger side here for you today. The driver side is going to go on the exact same way. However, you just need to make sure that you're identifying the correct brackets and the correct Nerf bar for that side of the vehicle. So that's really all there is to it. Pretty simple installation. It's a really good looking Nerf bar for this truck, in my opinion. Aesthetically, it looks really, really nice. And again, it's just going to provide a good sturdy support for you getting in and out of your truck. But if after watching this video, you decide that these are the Nerf bars that you want for your 2017 Ram 1500, you get them, install them, get to use them for a little bit, please share with us what you think about them in the comments below. We would love to share your experience with other neighbors so they can make the best decision for themselves. Once again, this is Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.